Hello everyone, welcome to Anime no Mi, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. In the past, the Gomu Gomu no Mi was considered a very simple fruit, and nobody understood why the world government had such an obsession with it. Even Who's Who was a member of CP0, didn't really understand the importance of this fruit, but those who knew the secrets of the Void Century knew that this fruit was valuable, especially Shanks and the Gorosei. After all, this fruit carried a great legacy, and its bearer would be able to change the world, making it one of the most sought-after fruits by those who knew its secret. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the powers of the formerly known Gomu Gomu no Mi, which is of course the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, the fruit of the sun god, how this fruit works, what powers it has, and why it's so feared by the Gorosei. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel or even if you've been with us for a bunch of episodes, we'd be absolutely honored if you'd leave us a like or even subscribe and maybe leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out and motivates us to make more content. And if you'd like to help out the channel in a bigger way, share your favorite video with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So my friends, during the beginning of One Piece, it's said that Luffy ate the Gomu Gomu no Mi, the rubber fruit, which allowed Luffy to stretch his body as if it was rubber, as well as having resistance to physical blows because they would bounce off, as well as elements such as electricity. In an SBS segment, Oda-sensei said that he chose the fun power for Luffy, a power which would not make him extremely powerful, but instead would allow us to see the creativity of Luffy. But what we didn't expect was his phrase and a hint about the true power of this fruit. During the Wano arc, where we saw several events that led to Luffy finally being able to have his matchup against Kaido, we saw that Zunisha was coming towards Wano, saying that she was sensing that Joy Boy was about to return. Even the Gorosei, who were in communication with the Marines that were near Wano, realized that Luffy had managed to finally awaken the power of his fruit, achieving a power that they have feared for a long time. The Gorosei then revealed that this fruit was a legendary one, and that it had not awakened for over 800 years, because no one had been able to eat it. Now we don't know the reason yet, but apparently this fruit had seemed to be waiting to choose someone worthy of eating it. In a scene, we see Zunisha tell Momonosuke that Joy Boy was coming back, and the big elephant said that he was hearing the drums of liberation, something that everyone in Onigashima could also hear. This sound emanated directly from Luffy's heart, and it was as if every beat of his heart resounded like the sound of drums, which meant that he obtained the power to change the world. It also seemed like black lightning bolts or things that often represent Conqueror's Haki were also coming from his body, and inside Onigashima, it was possible to see these rays coming straight from Luffy's body, which seemed to scare everyone, not knowing what was happening on the top of the dome. And as these events were taking place, Luffy was on the ground, seemingly knocked out after getting a really huge hit from Kaido that would have taken his life. But upon taking the blow, Luffy seemed to be able to awaken his fruit as if he was liquefying, and it allowed him to stay alive and willing to fight. During the conversation between the Gorosei, one of them informs the group that the real name of the Gomu Gomu no Mi was the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, a Zoan-type fruit that was a model of a sun deity, and also made the user a body of rubber. Based on the words that one of the Gorosei used, the fruit of the sun god Nika gives the user immense freedom in stretching their body in any way the user desires. In fact, really it's just limited to their imagination, and they called it the most ridiculous power ever, which even allowed it to take on the size of a giant, as well as many other possibilities we haven't even seen. Now, the world government over the years has tried to obtain this legendary fruit and has managed to do so several times, but every time they seem to have it in their possession, the fruit somehow manages to escape, as if they always lose it in these different ways. Now, the reason for this is because a fruit of a Zoan type has the spirit of an animal in it, so there seems to be some sort of soul or being in it. And in this case, being the fruit of a sun god, if Nika can influence people, Nika then inside the fruit would be able to get the fruit out of the world government's hands and hopefully eventually into the hands of the person it wants. In fact, the final way that the fruit of the sun god managed to escape the world government was through Shanks, because in a flashback we saw that happened recently in the manga, we see Shanks and crew attack the boat that was Who's Who and was ultimately carrying this fruit. Now, even though the red-haired pirates managed to get the fruit away from this boat and take it far away, the fruit still ended up in the hands of Luffy, who soon after ate it and obtained its power. But because the Gorosei had worked so hard to cover up the name of this mythical Zoan fruit, no one really knew the true nature of it, and they just really referred to it as the Gomu Gomu no Mi, thus making it recognizable only because it's characteristic of giving the user the body of rubber, a power that nobody really would have been interested in, but the fruit carried the power to also also change the world. Now, the idea that a devil fruit, especially a Zoan, somehow possesses a consciousness of its own is still a very new idea in the One Piece universe, and even really seems like it might have the ability to persuade the people around it. A possible proof of this ability happens in the anime and even in the manga, because there are two slightly different described ways about how Luffy ended up eating the fruit. The first story, of course, as we all know, is that there was a mix-up between Shanks' crew and the bandits, and Luffy, in a moment of anger and hunger, observes the fruit that was inside the trunk. After that, Luffy impulsively starts to eat the fruit. Now, as we've all seen through the manga and the anime, devil fruits seem to have a horrible taste, and it only takes one singular bite for the person to obtain the power of that fruit. But despite the horrible taste, Luffy still continued eating the fruit. Now, once he was about halfway through, it was only then that he had paid attention to his surroundings, and it was only then that Shanks realized that he had eaten the fruit that was inside the box. Now, in the second version of this scene that was shown in the anime, while Shanks' crew is arguing with the bandits, Luffy is eating a piece of meat, and on the counter next to him is a small chest with the devil fruit. And during the conversation, Luffy was so hungry that after he finished the meat, he then ate the devil fruit that was in the trunk without even realizing it. And in this version, he ate the whole fruit, leaving absolutely nothing of it. And as I just said, devil fruits, if they taste horrible, it really wouldn't make sense for Luffy to eat the entire fruit without realizing what he was doing. And this shows that somehow Luffy might have been manipulated to eat the fruit. In fact, the fruit may have somehow managed to influence Luffy and think it would just tasted good. And therefore, Nika chose Luffy to be the bearer of its power, something that has not happened for over 800 years, which means that the fruit of the sun god spent many hundreds of years waiting to choose the worthy bearer to possess it. Now, before Luffy had even eaten Nika's fruit, it was supposed to go to Lucky Roo, because after all, it was him responsible for getting the fruit out of the boat, and it was always the rule of Shanks' crew that whoever found the fruit, they were the person who was going to eat it. But in still some unknown way, Shanks seemed to know, or at least may have learned, the real name of this fruit and the great power that it possessed, and also the location of where it would be so that he and his crew could steal it. There may even be the possibility that Nika somehow managed to influence Shanks to steal it, so that Nika could find some new carrier to get her power, a person capable of accomplishing what the old carrier was unable to do. And Shanks apparently may know about the power of this fruit and what it can do, since even though Luffy ate the fruit and got its power, he didn't ultimately get mad at it. It was just only the initial shock once Luffy ate it. But still, he could know that the fruit of the sun god had chosen Luffy as its bearer, and it's for this reason that Shanks placed all his hopes in the hands of that little child, trusting that Luffy would be able to fulfill his dream and be able to be king of the pirates and change the world. And I just want to say this again, the fact that the world government had managed to get this fruit several times, but still no Marine or world government member was able to eat it, and it was always lost, this really kind of, again, goes to support the idea that Nika and the soul inside this fruit may have influenced hundreds, if not thousands of people over the centuries to make sure that the devil fruit never ended up in the wrong hands. Because Nika was on a quest to find the person who could inherit Joy Boy's goals. Based on the legend of Nika, the sun god, he was responsible for freeing people who had been enslaved by others. And no matter if he was a human or a fishman, Nika always helped anyone they could. And it's for these reasons that Nika ended up being considered by many to be a deity. But what people didn't know is that Nika is an actual person who existed, and it's just a person who carries the power of the sun god in a devil fruit, and also obtained the title of Joy Boy. So after more than 800 years, Nika finally managed to find the one who would become the current Joy Boy of this era, the one being Monkey D. Luffy, the boy who had the dream of becoming king of the pirates just like Gold D. Roger. Now, we don't know yet what goals Luffy will now have now that he's become Joy Boy, but he does possess the power to change the world completely and ring in an era of peace that the former Joy Boy sought for years, all the way up to the end of his life. And even with activating and awakening his fruit, Luffy's personality still hasn't changed. I mean, he still remains the same kind-hearted man who fights for his friends and his dreams. So this could mean that he's ultimately going to find his real goal hidden in the poneglyphs that are still scattered around the world, and perhaps even on Laugh-Tale. So through these writings on the poneglyphs and all of the mysteries when they're revealed about what happened during the Void Century, it will be these things that will guide Luffy to his final goal, which of course is to free the people that have been enslaved throughout the world. So besides having the goal of becoming king of the pirates, Luffy will learn that he has a great mission to change the world with the power that he has, and ultimately bring a new dawn to the world. But for now, we'd love to know what you think about it. Do you think there are details at Laugh Tale that will finally give Luffy the whole scoop on what happened during the Void Century and what it means to be Joy Boy? And also, do you think Shanks actually knew about the Devil Fruit before Luffy ate it, or was it only until afterwards that he learned the secret of what was once the Gomu Gomu no Mi, but instead the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika? Let us know what you think in the comments below. So with all that said, my friends, I want to thank you so much for watching the video all the way up to the very end. Be sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like or hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. I really hope to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.